Hello, welcome everyone to this amazing event. I don't know if you can hear me. Can you guys hear me? Not sure. Just let me know on the chat if you can hear me. And if you can also let us know where you're watching from, that would be great. Today we're here, we're going to be talking about setting boundaries in marriage. Setting boundaries in marriage. Welcome, everybody. Just let me know if you can, because this is an amazing time, and I just want to welcome every single one of you joining in or logging in from different parts of the world. But it would be great to know where you're watching from. And if you can kindly let us know on the chat where you are watching from, that would be great. We have a number of persons coming in, and they will be joining the show very soon. So please let us know. We'll give a few minutes for people to come in. And before or whilst we're waiting for them to come in, I will introduce myself. My name is Amara. And this is my lovely husband. Your name?
Yes, my name is Gospel.
Are you here?
Are
you right here on the show?
I thought we are still doing the preambles, you know?
Yes, we are. We are doing the preambles whilst you're waiting for other people to join on this conversation today. And I want to welcome you if you are watching live, or if you might be watching this back later on. We want to welcome you to our YouTube channel, Relationship Builders Forum. And this is a platform where we discuss everything about love, about sex, about relationship. And we are so passionate about this. And I am so happy that you have joined today's conversation.
Yeah, so it's actually a good opportunity to talk. You know, I know we have several things going on. People have busy schedule. This is your weekend.
Yep.
You want to do other things, but they're not going to take much of your time. And we know that there are issues happening in marriages. People don't always have the opportunity to share those huge conversations around boundaries, around sex, and the rest of them. And we create the platform to actually have such conversations. So what we say to you is, if you're watching us from wherever you are, and you find our content useful, you can share with your friends, you can share with those you think these contents or conversations will be relevant to, okay? We are happy to have you here because you are the reason why we do this.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
So welcome everyone. I can see some people have already joined us live. If you can let us know where you're watching from on the YouTube channel, that will be great. And today we'll be having a conversation about setting boundaries in marriage.
When you hear the word boundaries, it seems like you want to cage people.
Well, that's boundary is a good word.
I know.
It is a good word. But I think it's how it's being wielded, how it's being used, and the interpretation people give the word. So like you said, people have these mindsets that when you talk about boundaries, that means you're taking away my freedom.
Yes, because sometimes people think about marriage as going into a prison yard where you don't have freedom to express yourself anymore. You know, when you tell a young person, single person, why are you not married? Say, oh, for now, I want to enjoy my life.
Yes.
As if getting married is another phase of life where you don't have to be free to express yourself and enjoy life. No, it's not like that.
Yep.
And we know that for you to have a good life, a successful marriage, there is need for boundaries. Maybe we can define boundaries as those will I say limitations? No.
They're not limitations.
A kind of demarcation. It's not physical now.
Yes.
That gives you a kind of guideline to what you can do or should not do to your spouse.
Well, I will call it.
Okay.
I will call it healthy limits.
Okay, healthy limits.
Healthy limits.
Got it right.
Yes.
There.
That's what I will call it, because it's. I think boundaries are there for your protection.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
It depends on what you call boundaries. which is why we're having this conversation. Because
Absolutely.
we need to know that you need healthy limits.
Healthy limits. Healthy boundaries that help you. Yes, healthy limits that help you protect your relationship. So it's with good
protect your spouse as well.
Absolutely. It's with good intention. But before we get ahead of ourselves, I've seen people join us. Hello, Foundation for Family Affairs. You're warmly welcome to today's conversation. Always good to have you join us. We've got Pastor Princess. You are welcome to today's conversation as well. We are rooting for you as well. So amazing, amazing. Good to have you here. And we have many more people join us. Please let us know where you're watching from as well.
Yeah, while you're introducing our guests, I would say to them, can you give us your definition of boundaries? Let's know within the context of marriage. What do you think boundaries
or
are?
Relationship, because I know some single people will be watching this, and I don't think boundaries is just for people in marriage. They are also for people who
are not married.
Yeah, what exactly are boundaries, and how would you define boundaries in relationships? So please, if you let us know what your definitions are, it'll be great to know that as well.
I think it will be wonderful to bring in someone who would share her thoughts about boundaries in terms of personal boundaries.
Okay.
Because you're saying that boundaries don't have to do with only people who are married.
Yep.
And I think if we look at it from the point of someone who is single, it might help us have a good balance. What do you think?
Absolutely. Yeah, it would be great to know what a single person thinks about boundaries and if it's any good for her, because she is not in a marital relationship. But what does boundary mean to her, and why is it important? We don't know if it's important to her or it's not important to her. So without further ado, I want to make welcome Lizzie Rose. So I'll just bring her in. Hello, Lizzie.
Hi, everyone.
Good to see you, and nice to have you here. Can you hear us?
I can hear you perfectly. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Oh,
now you are very, very quiet, and we cannot even hear you.
Are we sure it's not from our end? Maybe.
Is it better now?
Okay, I would check the connection now and see if that would work. Okay. Can you speak again?
Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you now.
Oh, is that better? Okay, perfect. All right, thank you, guys.
So we want to find out from you, what's your view about boundaries?
Okay. All right, before I go on, I just want to say thank you for having me again. I always love listening to the show, and it has helped me so much. So I just want to appreciate you and let you know that the work that you're doing is actually received by loads of people, and it's really, really helping us. It's built my own single life towards marriage as well. So I just want to appreciate you guys for what you do. I hope you can still hear me.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. So for me, boundaries, I'll think maybe because I'm not married yet. It's a lot. It means a lot. It's a very huge word for me, because I haven't decided to go into some sort of marital relationship with a person. So at this point in time, I feel like I need to do a lot more protection, as it has to do with me. So boundaries could be just that line that marks a limit, that line that cannot be crossed when it comes to maybe discussions, or when it comes to relationships with other people. Just that's what boundary means to me. The line that cannot be crossed, or it can also be said to be the line that marks a limit, just like Amara was saying earlier. Are you guys there? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Uh-oh.
We're having some connection issues, but we're sorting it out. So just carry on, please.
No worries. That's fine. I can wait. Hi, guys. If anyone else can hear me. Hi, welcome to the show.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Sorry about that. So you've talked about boundaries in terms of your personal views and all that. Do you think is relevant for singles when they get into marriage? Sorry, when they get into serious relationship that will lead to marriage, to start building boundaries?
Yeah, yes. I think it's very important because the serious relationships you get in that lead to your marriage would tell, what your marriage will look like or what your marriage will turn out to be. And I think it's very important. A particular angle for me personally, what is so important to me would be maybe in arguments or fights, the kind of things that people say. I feel like there should be a bit of a boundary because when people are really angry, they can say things that can never be taken back and they can say things that can hurt the other person as well.
Mm.
So I feel like maybe in fights or arguments, there should be boundaries on the kind of things that you say out of anger. Or if you feel like you are too angry to actually have this conversation, then you should probably take a breather so you don't say something that would hurt someone forever, something that can never be taken back, even though you don't mean it. So I think there should be boundaries in the kind of things you say to people generally, especially in arguments. Maybe I know a group of people who they have like these couples meetings where they learn how to talk in certain situations. So if you have to, maybe a particular couple can decide that in our arguments, make sure that you use maybe endearing terms. So no matter how angry you get, just take a breath and make sure that you can say, okay, my love, this is the problem, or baby, this is the problem. So that way it makes the other person feel a bit better. Or in certain situations, some kind of words are not allowed. Like you're not allowed to yell at me, like you're not allowed to raise your voice. When you feel like you're getting there, then just take a breather. So I think it's very important. There should be boundaries in situations like that, especially with arguments, because people can get hurt and it can stay with them for forever. So yeah, that's the important part of boundaries for me.
Wow, thank you very much, Lizzie Rose, for adding your thoughts and your views on this. Thank you. I think those of you that are not married, you can take it away from here.
Yep.
That you need to start setting personal boundaries, things you can take or not take within a context of a relationship, because
Yeah.
that will help you build foundation for boundaries within your marriage. Thank you, Lizzie.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lizzie.
So I think
Before you move on,
okay,
because there's something she said that I think is really profound. You find a lot of people who haven't been very conscious about setting boundaries as single people, and they've opened up their space to someone else who comes in and damage them. And they become so damaged that when they come into the relationship, all they are doing is trying to get somebody else to heal them, or somebody else to complete them, or somebody else to help pick up the broken pieces. Now, I know that sometimes in life we don't choose what happens to us, but sometimes we do by the actions that we take.
Yeah.
So when we open up ourselves and we don't place boundaries in relationship, and we open up ourselves to somebody else who's going to come into the relationship and speak to us in any way they think it's okay to speak to them, then I think it's not supposed to. You don't put yourself in harm's way.
Yeah.
At the point where you allow yourself to be damaged and you come into a relationship so fractured that you're wanting somebody else to complete you.
Yeah, I think based on what you just said, boundaries have to do with having personal respect.
Yes.
You honor yourself, you respect yourself, you place value on yourself. And when that happens, you know that there are things you can accept.
Absolutely.
And there are things you cannot accept. When someone comes into your life, even before you say I do, you should know if this person values you, if this person sees you honorable.
Yep.
Would this person respect your personal values and principles?
Yeah.
Take, for instance, you believe in abstinence before marriage, and someone comes into your life and the person wants to
and trivializes.
Go against that. What is your view? What will you do? Will you say, well, because I'm in love, I need to let go of my values and break my personal boundaries? for me, I think doing that means shooting yourself in the foot. You're securing the process. So what you need to do is to stay strong and will I say stay hold of your boundaries.
Yeah.
Because that's very important. It's core to who you are and your self-respect.
Yeah, because you can't keep shifting the boundaries, because they're in relationship, in life generally, there are tough times, and a lot about how you navigate or pivot in those tough times is down to your values as a person. So you can't keep saying, oh, I have to make all of these adjustments, and people use that word adjustment. You have to really be careful. If there are adjustments that have to do with you making, significant changes on how you can improve your life, that's different.
That's positive adjustment.
That's positive adjustment. But if you're making those adjustments in such a way that you are putting yourself down, or taking on something that that this is not me, this is not what I'm uncomfortable about this, but I think I have to give it up. No, you don't have to. And this is where you have to talk about these things. And if somebody else is in a relationship with you and doesn't love you enough to see your value and respect your value, then I think that is in itself a problem.
Yeah, I think it's a problem, but we need to sort that problem out before we head into marriage. These are the basic things that lead to issues within your marriage,
your relationship.
Because when you come into marriage and you now want to set boundaries, contrary to how you've lived or how you've presented yourself to that person, it will now look like you're bringing something different from what everything has been before now. So that's fine. Let's look at boundaries now. What are the areas that we need to set boundaries within marriage?
So let me ask our listeners and people that are watching us, what areas do you think that is really important to set boundaries on for marriage?
Yeah, we asked them before to give us definition of boundaries. Did they do that?
I think they just carried away with the conversation, and I haven't seen anything yet. But I'm sure they're going to write something. Okay, so we are looking forward to hearing from you. Remember, it's a conversation, right? So we don't want to just be here and just talking at you. So please, we would also want you to feed into this conversation. If you may, please feed into this conversation and let us know. Some of you may be married, and some of you are also, maybe if you're single, you might be in a relationship. Tell us, what are areas that you think the boundaries have to be set? And I think Lizzie has touched on personal boundaries already.
Yeah, right? So maybe we can introduce an aspect. Which is privacy.
Privacy.
Yeah, because
in marriage.
Yes, in marriage. Because obviously, when you're single, you know that as a single person,
you had your space.
Respect your space. You have a private life. But when you're married, from our context, it should be an open thing.
Oh, wow.
Marriage is about, in fact, you shouldn't have
my space.
The things you're hiding, so to speak.
What do you mean by things? I'm
saying this is what it should be.
Okay.
I'm not saying this is what happens.
Yeah.
But now within your marriage, there has to be privacy.
In
privacy,
what way?
You have to have a conversation in terms of how far can we go in terms of people. Let me use us for instance.
Yeah.
Our setting boundaries around privacy, it could be that you have complete access.
Okay.
You have access to my phone. You have my password. In fact, we use the same passcode for our phones. You know my bank account details. You have all of those. That's what we have agreed.
Yes,
I'm not saying this is what is obtainable.
Exactly.
This is why setting boundaries is very important. Because for us, this is our conversation. Nothing should be hidden.
Okay.
Is open access, because we believe we are one. But then for someone out there who has lived his life as single person, my space, privacy, you don't touch my phone,
Yep.
No matter how much close we are, you don't touch my phone. My passcode is my thing.
Yeah.
What would that person do? That's the essence of having a conversation around privacy and setting boundaries.
Yeah.
Do you now carry on with that kind of life? Will your spouse be, I wanted to say, will your husband, will your spouse be happy to have such arrangements?
Well,
those are the questions we need to ask, and then
yeah,
have a conversation around setting boundaries in terms of privacy.
Yes, we really need to think about that. We've got Connie who have joined in, and I think she's provided her own definition on what this is. She says, is not taking each other for granted. Not taking each other for granted. Now, and I think she's trying to speak to what is boundaries or setting boundaries, and what that means to her is basically not taking each other for granted. And that's a very powerful statement, because I see that sometimes when people get into a marital relationship, you get to the point where you can see all forms and shades of somebody else's weakness, that you get to the point where you begin to take that person for granted. Now you don't understand what it feels and where the boundaries are. But we will get to that. Now back to your point about sharing,
setting boundaries
around
privacy.
I think this is a serious conversation that has to be had. The reason why I say this is that everybody has a history, everybody has got a way, and they perceive doing things or doing life or living life. And some people are very, very independent.
And protective.
Very independent, very protective. Some of them, their independence was as a result of their journey in life. Right?
Independence is good.
It's good, but what I mean is that, well, they take it to the point where
they want to be independent,
even in marriage. Yes, even in marriage, like, this is me, this is how I want to run my life, because yes, I'm married, but I just have to do it because this is something that it's a safe process for them, right? It's a way that they navigate life, and they've done it successfully. So not understanding that in a marital relationship, it's different. In a marital relationship, you have to be vulnerable. You have to be having this sort of openness in that sense. And maybe for them, it's a form of exposure.
But how much
they're
openness are you supposed to have? That's the question.
I think it's
100%? Is it 80? Can I have, I want us to be a bit practical now, because obviously we've spoken with couples where issues around it might look minor, issues around you passworded your phone. I can't have access to your phone. The man is saying, why do you want to have access to my phone? It's my phone. If you need my phone, ask for it, I'll give you. And when there is trust issue, that kind of thing could lead to snooping around, because you want to know what's in that phone. And it could also be that someone is hiding something. So those kind of things, how do you set boundaries around it? Is it you're free to see whatever you want to see, or everyone have maybe keep your password, keep your phones, I don't want to look at it, don't come close to my personal space? Is that the right way to go about it? I don't know if...
Well, there's a comment by, I think Pastor Princess just put a comment on the chat. He says, we are one, so privacy is illegal in a strong marriage that will last forever. Okay, so this is drawn from, well, the conversation about, yes, we've agreed, we are in this thing together, we are one, and from now we have to work together. But it's very challenging, because again, I've got the Redeemed Christian, the Redeemed Worship Center says, when you get married, the two become one. And I think it's down to the understanding of what marriage is.
And
that's one. What your expectations are in marriage. Because a lot of people come into marriage with a certain mindset. Some people come into marriage with a cultural mindset. Some people come into marriage, like I said, with their history, with their past. And that's in itself they always putting their guards up, even in a marital relationship. They cannot come to the point to what I think Connie is explaining on the chat, where she says openness is very, very important. And if one should come to a point where they are open, that means you're coming to a point where you are unashamed to show your vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
You're unashamed to be yourself, and you're unashamed to say, look, I have a past, and you feel comfortable talking about it.
Yeah, even when it's not about the past. Some people want...
Or your insecurities. Because in itself, when you're talking about somebody, some people are just, their phones is a no-no. It doesn't matter what it is. It's a no-no for you, right? Not that they're hiding anything, but they feel like you're overstepping.
Sometimes they might be hiding.
Well,
something.
I'm not trying, like, yes, maybe sometimes they are hiding, but some people, it's like, this is my privacy. You shouldn't touch my phone. For some people, it's not necessarily that something is going on. It's just that, don't overstep, right? And for some people, when it has to do with money matters or money issues, it's a no-no, right? I have to decide and that's why I said it's a process. It's a journey. And this is the point where people in a relationship need to understand who they are in a relationship with and have these difficult conversations.
This comes back to what Lizzie was saying. You need to have those conversations even before marriage, so that you know where you guys are and what you are able to accept. For instance, if you start hiding things from me, it gives me a different signal, because you've never been doing that before. So that's why they need to set boundaries, and they need to talk about. I've heard a lady complain about the husband not telling her how much he earns. And for her, it's not about knowing how much he earns to ask for more. She would just wants to feel like
she's in the know.
I am your wife. I
deserve to know. Yes.
You see? So that's part of accountability. And maybe for the man, it is ego thing. It's a man thing. He feels, if I tell her how much I earn, maybe she will ask for more. It doesn't really mean that. So my point is, there shouldn't be... Privacy is good, but in marriage, you don't have to cling on it, because oneness means you're open, you're vulnerable
in all things,
in everything. But then if you guys think this is not what's going to work for us, and you want to have a conversation around how much is far enough in terms of what the other person needs to know or access, then you need to decide that. So that when someone goes against that agreement, then you can say you're overstepping.
Well, true.
It works for some people.
True.
Everyone, I know friends who their wives can't even think about touching their phones, and they're happy with it that way. Okay.
I think but there's a comment on the chat that kind of sums up what you're trying to say.
Okay.
Saying that marriage is the only certificate you get before the training.
So you get a certificate, then you enroll on the training. And the training
you
doesn't...
enroll on the course. Actually, it's not even a train. It's like, when you're going on a journey, that's it's
journey of no
end. Because a training has a timeline, right? This one, I don't know, it doesn't have a
lifetime training. Maybe that's what we'll call it.
A lifetime training. So it says, be humble and happy to learn what makes good marriage. There's a lot in that statement around being open, because yes, some people may not have had the conversations you were referring to before marriage.
Now they are married.
Now you're in marriage, right? And it is important, first of all, to get people to unlearn certain things, because like I said to you, some people have their guards up because of their life experiences before marriage. And when they come into marriage, they've still got all of that. Some of it's colored by culture, some of it's colored by experience. And it takes a lot of unlearning for someone in a relationship to understand what it means to have a safe, healthy, limits, boundary in marriage.
Which is why we are doing this.
Yeah.
So that people will know that although you've been doing something before and you think it works for you, it might not be the best approach. In the real sense, if you trust each other, you love each other, you're not hiding anything, that should be openness. That level of privacy, that's what is obtainable in marriage. In fact, privacy for access in certain areas shouldn't be applicable when there is complete oneness.
Yeah.
But if you want to step it up to a different level, what about me time?
Well, yes, me time is good. But before we get onto that, someone have just said, in marriage, you are an open book.
Wow.
That's a tweetable moment right there. I like that quote. In marriage, you are an open book. Now, this actually, as I'm reading this comment now, I am reflecting on myself. If I've actually been when you're talking open book, like open book on every single aspect of the marriage, of the relationship.
So your husband needs to read all the chapters. Any chapter he wants, he flips.
And he's not guessing what is in there because he already knows what's in there. And I think this is a challenge for a lot of us, even in marriage, to make sure that, what we actually demonstrate, and we shouldn't believe in double lives and double standards. We should actually be authentic in our relationship to our spouse. That's the least we owe. I owe you. Yeah. Like you shouldn't have to think about me in a different light and be surprised that, oh my goodness, I didn't realize that she was like this. So marriage is such a beautiful relationship. It's such a beautiful relationship. And I'd say if people can understand the power of marriage and how beautiful marriage is, they can leverage on marriage and do amazing things. They can leverage on marriage and setting boundaries actually protects you. It protects your relationship because there are certain things that you agree, this is allowed, this is off limits in our relation. I mean, even as far as setting boundaries in terms of the relationship that you allow in the space of your relationship. Yeah,
you're going ahead of yourself now. Remember, we are still talking about me time.
Okay.
So we'll deal with that and know we are sorted. Me time in terms of me having times that you allow me to reflect. If I need time to pray, I need time to think about my life, I need time. I shouldn't feel like the marriage is suffocating my life.
Oh yes, absolutely.
I shouldn't think that being in love with you is taking away my freedom to be an individual.
Yes,
individuality doesn't end in marriage. Some people think because you're married, you're not a person anymore. But you should find real expression of who you are within the context of your marriage.
Yes.
Your marriage should make you a better individual, not to swallow your individuality.
Absolutely.
Very important. So that means you can decide, take a trip on a weekend with friends, have your life, do what you want to do.
Rejuvenate.
Yeah. Do your thing while I do my thing. But it has to be in agreement.
Yes.
It has to be something that work for us as a family.
Yeah.
So you can start a career. You can develop your skills. I shouldn't
live your dream.
Live your dream.
Yeah. What you really want to achieve. Yes.
Maybe you want to chill, you want to rest. I shouldn't say, why are you going out with your friends? I need you to stay with me.
Yeah.
That's being clingy in a sense.
Yeah. So people should be allowed, even in marriage, you should be allowed to be yourself. You should be allowed to thrive.
Yes.
Even though you're married to somebody, your life doesn't stop.
Yeah.
And it's about your spouse encouraging that.
Me time.
Yes, seeing that and encouraging that. I know, ladies, we love our time. You guys love your football as well. So it's just allow that sort of moment where you can just be yourself in your zone and do what you love to do. Yes, it shouldn't take away, but it should add to who we are.
So if that's not happening, then it means you need to have that conversation to say, what can we do around, what boundaries can we set?
Absolutely. Yeah.
time.
Yeah. And I think this is echoed by Connie's comments on the chat saying having time to be yourself is very healthy for the marriage. This is such a powerful statement. Some people feel they underestimate this because when people go out and rejuvenate, they come back a better person, right? You've given them time, and again, this is something that the husbands can actually give to the wife, a spa time, or just go 2 days in a hotel somewhere just to be yourself, chill, somewhere in one of those islands.
You're
and just
speaking to me now. I can.
And you know what happens when I come back? It will be really rewarding, to see what really happens. And I know there are ladies in the house that are actually like in agreement right now.
Don't worry, we'll sort that out.
Yes, really, really important, because this is something that shapes the tone. Remember that women sometimes shapes the tone in a marriage.
Yeah, we also shape the tone.
Yes.
Of the marriage.
Yeah.
So it's not just the women who
together
need the me time.
Okay.
It's also good if the guy can take a trip.
Yeah.
In that zone, you reflect more. You think about life in a better way.
Yeah.
Have business ideas, have career plans and all that. It's really we call it retreat. So
a retreat. Yes.
It's good to have that.
Yeah.
Marriage should not take away your freedom to be an individual.
That's true.
That's the point.
That's true. And this has been echoed by Foundation for Family Affairs, saying your individuality, that is your uniqueness, should not be murdered in marriage.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the thing, I see that a lot with women. They get into marriage, they are swallowed up in marriage.
Yeah.
They don't have an identity anymore.
Yeah.
It's all about the man, the husband, what he wants, how he's growing.
Yeah.
They don't think about themselves as well, because either he's the husband, I'm just invested in my children.
That's true.
You give and give and give, you forget yourself.
And sometimes people grow apart as a result of this.
Exactly. By the time you're done investing in those children, they will all leave the house, get married, you're left by yourself.
Yeah.
And you feel like you don't know what to do with your life anymore.
Absolutely.
Because all your life has been around your husband, your children. Now you feel a sense of emptiness, and sometimes it could lead to depression.
That's true.
And loneliness.
Yeah.
So what we are saying is, don't forget yourself because you're married.
Yeah.
Invest in yourself, and your husband should think about that and help you as well to make that happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There was something else I was saying.
You were talking about people you allow into your space.
Yes.
Social
boundaries, social boundaries. I think it's also a very important point, because a lot of times you find that so many people are not conscious about the relationships they allow into their relationships.
That's a quotable, tweetable quote.
Yeah. So this is so important. And when people are married, when people are in a relationship, you also need to be conscious about the people that influence your relationship, whether directly or indirectly. And you both need to be in alignment about how this relationship, what exactly, even if they are my friends or they are your friends, it is really important that we understand what is the purpose of the relationship and how does this set the tone in the marriage. Because sometimes some marriages have been shook or shaken out of an alignment, and they're now misaligned because of the relationships that have been allowed to thrive in their relationship.
Maybe we can look at examples of those relationships.
Yeah.
It could be family members, extended family members. How much influence should they have over your marriage?
Relationship? Yeah.
When you want to make core decisions, how much impact or how much influence should they have? What contributions are they to make in your marriage? You need to decide that. You should also think about how do you relate with them in terms of support. If you have people you support, how much of that are you supposed to take on? It should be a boundary thing. You shouldn't just make it an open thing. where
You
they
should
just
have-
come in
Yeah, you should have that conversation.
with your spouse.
You should, and that is why you have to be very intentional about this, because I've seen a lot of relationship. I mean, we've cancelled a lot of people, and the relationship was actually fractured because of they have opened their doors, or they have made a decision about some external relationship that have had a huge, massive impact on their own relationship. And I think this is a conversation that has to be had. There's nothing like, oh no, they are my friends, you don't have to have a say about it, or they're his friends, I don't have a say about it. No, because directly or indirectly, that person or that individual or those individuals have an influence over your spouse. And whether you like it, whether you believe it or not, they are going to be picking a lot of values from that relationship, and they're going to be bringing those values home.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm not saying don't have friends, but it's really important to know if their values align with your values in your relationship and how you want to pivot.
Yeah. Even if you have similar values, you should also discuss and know how much you can allow them into your relationship.
In terms of,
because some people are so close to their friends that sometimes those friends take more of their time from their family, take more. In fact, whatever they want to do, they must share with their friends.
Yeah.
That's where you also need to have a conversation with your spouse to know how much of what's going on in our family needs to be shared with either extended family members or friends.
Yeah.
For instance, I may not be comfortable with you sharing about our love life with your friends, but you might feel, oh, it's something we talk about within our circle. But if your spouse is not happy with that because he or she feels this is our thing, you shouldn't discuss it with your friends. You shouldn't.
Yeah.
You will be surprised how many men talk about how good their wives are in bed, or how bad she is. And they have a laugh and, things like that. Those are the things you need to decide. How much can we talk about?
Yeah.
Or you want to do something. You have some people's lives are on social media.
Yeah.
If I use us, for instance, personally, I can make pictures, family pictures, and post it on Facebook.
Yeah.
But we had a conversation to know, especially in terms of our son, how much of that should we put out there?
Yeah.
So some people, for instance, if I'm coming from a point where I like privacy in that sense, I don't want people to know not all, but know anything about what's happening. And you are one who believes, oh,
it should be
my life is an open book.
Yeah.
Private and public, no demarcation.
Yeah.
If I become, no, let me not go there. So you think.
Yeah, and this has caused a lot of
conflict.
conflict.
We need to talk and say what is acceptable.
Yeah.
What's
not
acceptable.
How far
should we go in this sense?
Absolutely.
And having that conversation with you helped me to say, okay, you have a point. I may have a positive mindset doing it.
Yeah.
But there are other ways to look at it.
And I think it's about moderation, how you moderate certain things, because anything done in excess in itself is not good. Okay, you could have a good intention, but for the fact it's excessive, then in itself not good.
For some people, it might not be excessive.
Yeah.
For some, even if it's not excessive.
Yeah.
Because definition of excessive is relative.
It's relative.
It might not be excessive, but it might not suit well with your spouse. For you, is okay, and obviously it's okay. But as long as your spouse is not in support,
then that's a problem.
Both of you need to agree in terms of how much information people should have about you.
Absolutely.
Don't just do it because it's me.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that.
Yeah. I've got a few comments on the chat. Connie saying, choose your friends wisely, and I think it's just echoing some of the comments, and some people are loving up on their friends on the chat, which is great. You can see Princess loving up on Connie. So yes, indeed, it is really, really important. I think Tendai also put a very very important. He says very, very true. I think just echoing what we've said, and they are all showering us with a lot of love. Thank you so much, Tendai, for joining in. And we've got Noelia from Valencia. She's also joining.
Noelia,
good to have you. Good to see you here as well. Very good. And I think Mrs. also said that's why boundaries matter even with friends. I mean, she made a very good point here, and especially for people in a single relationship or people who are yet to be married and they have all of these friends, because a lot of times that also weighs into some of your decisions as to how you want to pivot life or how you want to tackle a number of challenges in life. So yes, indeed. Really, really important. We cannot overemphasize how important setting boundaries in terms of your social boundaries really, really matter. Okay. Now, we want to talk about another type of boundary. Just looking at the clock because we are nearly done. We want to keep this for an hour. Let's talk about communication boundaries. Let's talk about communication boundaries because I think it's really, really important. Some people do not know how to communicate in a relationship. Now, some of us are from a culture where we are very vocal, right? We want to say it as it is. And we come into a relationship. And trust me, this is down to experience. This is down to upbringing, you know.
Different factors.
So many factors to this. But the question is, there has to be some boundaries as it has to do with communication. In every close relationship, marriage inclusive, right? When you are in close proximity with somebody, you are bound to have a few disagreements.
Obviously.
And it's about how you communicate, even when you don't feel good about the relationship. Because yes, those moments happen, and it's about having that respect for the other person, making sure that however I'm communicating to someone, is that how I would appreciate that person communicating to me. Not just bearing it all out because I have to bear it all out. I have to say it as it is. But you also need to think about, how does this person feel about what is being said?
So obviously, within the context of marriage, even in any relationship, like you said, there has to be boundaries in terms of how you speak to your spouse and how your spouse speaks to you, or how you speak to others and how others speak to you. It has to be clean, it has to be calm, and it has to be clear.
Yes.
I think I used
the three
C's of communication.
Clean.
It has to be clean. Clean in the sense that you don't speak to people in a derogatory manner. Use your words wisely, and it has to be kind words. Okay? No negative words. There are families where you go to, you see people using different negative words, you know, okay? But
curse words.
It shouldn't apply. It should be clean. It should be clean. And then it has to be calm. Yes, you might have emotional outbursts that you want to aggressive and shout, but this is where personal boundaries, we'll still go back to it. If you've trained yourself to understand that when you want to speak, you have to think through what you want to say and how you say it. That helps you to bring that in within your marriage.
That's true.
So it has to be calm. Even if your head is busting, rather than say it when you don't feel like saying it the right way.
You have to calm down.
You're better off being quiet, processing what you want to say, and calm before you say it. And then it has to be clear, because if you communicate and the other person does not understand what you're saying or gets a different meaning based on what you're saying, then you're not communicating effectively. So both of you should have a conversation to say, this is how much we can accept. And this is what we should not accept.
That's true. That's true. I just, look at some of the comments on the chat. Tenda is saying, wow, she's been married for 43 years. Wow, we just started.
Oh, really?
Yes, she said, that's why in my marriage for 43 years, it's because of these meetings. Praise God, I love it. Okay, I think she's trying to say something more.
Maybe she can help us with
Yes, Tendai, please let us know what you're trying to say, because I would really want some clarification on what you've just said. And Noelia here has put another C for you. She's put clever.
It has to be clever.
It has to be clever. That's another C for you.
Okay.
So this is the reign of C's. Clever, clear, calm, clever, clean. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's very important, and I think that another thing is you have to take responsibility in your communication. Really important as part of it.
Yeah. Before we talk about taking responsibility in your communication, we should also look at the fact that you need to make efforts to grow in your communication skills.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Because boundaries doesn't mean it means you have to grow.
Yes.
So if the communication is not there, if it's not happening, there has to be a conversation around where do we want to get to in terms of our ability to communicate effectively, in terms of it being clean, calm, clever, and which other one?
Being conscious as well.
Conscious of what you say.
Yes.
Okay.
I think somebody has just put something here. She says, speak to each other. Connie's saying, speak to each other with love. With love and understanding, as words said in anger can be hurtful.
Yeah.
And I can't, I mean, the key word here is speaking in love. Speaking in love, really important, because you cannot just afford to talk to people in a manner that, like you said, that is derogatory. You cannot speak down at people. You really need to speak to people with love. How would you feel if you're spoken to that way?
So I think we've said a lot in terms of boundaries, and you can help us make up the rest of it. We can think about financial boundaries. We can think about sexual,
we'll talk about that later,
sexual boundaries and all that. There are so many boundaries to talk about. But how do we actually set these boundaries? How do we do that? We've talked about different ways within our conversation. One is communication.
Yeah.
Clear communication. You have to sit down. Don't assume that, oh,
they understand.
They know my boundaries.
Yeah.
Don't assume the boundaries are there. They might be there. They might not be clear. But you need to have that conversation to say, this is how far I want us to go in this area.
Yeah.
These are the boundaries. It has to be clear.
Yes, absolutely.
There has to be clear understanding on that. Communication is key.
Yes, really clear communication, really important. I think the second thing is you taking responsibility. Yeah. You have to own it.
It's not enough to say,
no,
this is what we will do.
You have to take action.
Doing is key.
Yes. Talk is cheap, right? Talk is cheap. It's about the action. So if you say something, your spouse would need to see that you're taking steps towards doing it. If you say, oh, I would improve on my communication, there has to be evidence that you're actually improving on your communication. Really important. You have to take responsibility for your growth, right? You can't keep saying, oh, this is the way I talk. I'm somebody who, when I'm angry, I scream, I shout, I say it as it is. Yeah, but you know, we are all we're journeying through life, and you can't keep charging into the shop like a bull in a china shop and crashing everything. You need to understand that, look, God has made you or giving you a responsibility in your marriage, and your spouse has to be better for meeting you, really. And it's about you improving yourself and making sure that you're bringing your best version, or at least making an attempt to bring your best version forward. Yeah,
talking about taking responsibilities, you have to also take responsibilities to protect your boundaries. Because if you're married and there are will I use the word distractions?
Yeah.
Maybe external people, opposite sex, trying to distract you from the focus of your marriage. It happens in different instances. You can cite them.
Yeah.
People deviating from their sexual boundaries.
Yeah.
In this sense, you need to protect your spouse because you guys have something together. Yeah. Infidelity is a no-no. And it's one boundary. When you break it,
it's difficult.
When you break it, it's going to have impact on the next step to the boundary.
That's true.
Which is clear consequence.
That's true.
Obviously, it has its consequences. So what we are saying is protect your marriage by keeping your boundaries.
Boundaries.
Take
Yeah.
responsibility for keeping
Protecting your boundaries.
And
Really
the
important.
third step is that.
Yeah, before you
Okay.
head on to the third step, because we have some very interesting comments that I want to highlight.
Okay.
It says, this is a biggie, and that's with respect to words,
Mm-hmm.
you know, what you say. It says, words matter. Choose to speak expensive words. You know, cheap talk is selfish. Expensive talk values people at any cost, even when angry.
Mm. Mm.
I like the comparison between expensive and cheap, right? And if you place a lot of value on your spouse, then you have to make sure that it's expensive talk, not cheap talk, right?
Quality talk.
Quality talk, really important. Okay. Somebody, I think a Foundation for Family Affairs saying something around assumption. It says assumption is the lowest level of knowledge, and that's a quote from Reverend Sam Adeyemi. He says spouses must say what they have in mind. Don't assume. That is a very powerful, you know, sometimes we are good at doing this. We see our spouse, we're hearing things they haven't said. No, it will save a lot if you can ask, this is what I'm hearing. Is that what you mean? Yes, I am hearing these words. This is what these words mean. I'm hearing this. What do you mean by this? Okay, really important that you're very clear, because this is how misunderstanding starts. And another thing I would say, you know, we've talked about having a clear communication. We've talked about taking responsibility. The other thing is, if you're struggling and you're finding it difficult to set boundaries, and these things are overwhelming in your relationship,
Don't even know where to start.
You don't know where to start. Please seek professional help. There is, as Africans, difficult sometimes to go as saying, I don't know how to do this on my, I need help. It's okay. It's okay to seek help. You know, seek professional help, seek some professional guidance that can help you identify your boundaries in your relationship. And maybe that's just the only thing you need to be able to save that relationship or to take the relationship to the next level.
And we are here to help if you need help.
Yes.
I would say. And we can also signpost you to or refer you to other people who are professionals in this instance. And the last one you did emphasize more is clear consequence.
Clear consequence.
You need to have consequences for breaking boundaries. It could be defined. It could also be maybe consequences that are indirect. I cited one before. So know that if you break boundaries, there will be consequences. You can decide with your spouse what consequences to set for breaking boundaries.
That's true.
I think we can keep
on
and on and on and on.
Yeah.
But
I think there's some comments here. Someone said, okay, she was only highlighting her group in Zimbabwe and how that really helped her. And that's Madam Tenda is talking about her group. So thank you for sharing that. And this is I think this is another thing. Having these groups help. You know, you discuss some of these things in a very safe space, and that is what, you know, our channel is all about. This is where we talk about all of these issues, and maybe just having that sort of safe space where you discuss can actually help to improve the quality of your relationship. Noelia is saying to have the goal in mind, which is construct and to find a solution. Having a goal in mind is really important.
That's another way of setting boundaries.
Absolutely.
You have a goal in mind and then
you execute. So it's not about just talking about the problem. Yes, the problem. But again, you need to have a goal, you know. And she talked about active listening.
The technique of the mirror.
Yes, the technique of the mirror. That's an interesting one.
Reflection.
Reflect. Yes, reflect. Look at what do you see in the mirror and active listening. Because sometimes you're speaking to your spouse and say, yes, did you hear what I just said? Oh no, I know there was a time you were like that in our relationship.
Was I?
Yeah, you were.
Are you sure?
But you moved on. You learned, right? You
we
were able
we
to
learned. We did.
We learned. We navigated it. Wow, it's been an amazing time today. I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I did.
And I think one of the reasons we enjoyed it is because everyone on the chat gave their, contribution,
input,
they made
yes.
their input, which
Yes.
is quite interesting. Thank you. Thank you so much for doing that.
Yes, thank you so much. And it was a great time today, just having this conversation around setting boundaries in your marriage. And next week, I just want to talk to you about an event that we are going to be showcasing for next week. And it is when sorry is not enough. When sorry is not enough. Now, this is an event where we will be inviting a couple, and they will be coming on this platform, and we will be talking about these. And please, if you are available next week, please join the conversation. It promises to be really, really exciting. Really exciting. I've known them for long. I don't want to introduce them now, but we'll do so next week. So please, if you are available next week, please join us for this conversation. And if you can share this link to people who you think will find this very valuable content, please do. And if they can subscribe to our channel, even so much better. Please, it will be lovely to have them as part of the community. And to all of you who have joined in today, it's been an amazing time.
Yeah.
And we don't take your time for granted. We want to say thank you very much for joining this conversation. Okay, and we will see you next week at 12:30 UK time. Take care of yourself and have an amazing weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.